Hi, I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. My channel is dedicated to helping victims of narcissistic abuse get free and stay free. If you are trapped in a relationship with a narcissist today, I know it can feel hopeless, but this channel has an incredible track record for helping get people out, get people free, and helping people to move on. And that's our community. You know, people are moving on and having wonderful lives and doing great things, and that's been this wonderful support within our community. So that's all very exciting. And yes, it can feel hopeless and it can feel like you're never going to make any strides, but you are, and everything's going to be fine. You know, I know things aren't as easy right now. A lot of countries are locked down. A lot of people have taken really, really hard financial hits. A lot of people are out of school. You know, businesses closed. Maybe you've had a bankruptcy recently. There's a lot going on, right? There really is. So saying you got to get out of there is irrelevant at this point, right? There's no reason for me to say, you know, you've got to get out of there. You've got to get away from the narc, you know, throw a few things in a pillowcase and start hitchhiking up the highway. You know, it's imperative you get out. Now, obviously, it's going to be in your best interest if you do get out, but the timing may not be good now. There may be no possibility of getting out now. Now, one question, you know, that I've asked many, many times, because there's a very clear and obvious pattern that when we kind of wake up to what's going on in our lives, in a state of panic, we flee. Right, we flee. We always flee, right? And oh man, how many members, friends from this group have been living in cars? Do you remember back years ago? Oh my God, there was one point we had maybe 20 people who had left a narcissistic relationship and were heading for warm weather states, because they were going to be living in their car. And people just flee with the shirt on their back. They just want to get away. They leave. They run. I guess right now, thinking about this a bit more critically, I've got to ask myself, why does that happen? I got to ask you, why is that happening? I think that answer is very obvious. I think we all reach a point in the relationship with the narcissist where we just reach this, inflated, hyper state of fear and anxiety and stress and panic and self-loathing and desperation. We feel like our heart's being ripped out and our soul's being pulled out through our nose. And, I think the fight or flight thing kicks in. And at this point, for many of us, we got no fight left, right? There is no fight, and flight is the only option. So we flee. I mean, I've got friends here from the channel, people you guys all know. One woman lived in her car with 2 kids and a dog for like 4 months. She was working out of that car. It was unbelievable. And this is how it always plays out. I think we can reel this back in. I think we have a moment to think now. You know what's going on. Disengage. Don't let the narc affect you if you're still stuck with it. And let's figure out how we can get the narcs out. I think this is much safer for most people. Yeah, the narc knows where you live, but I think there are ways you can protect yourself from that too. And let's hope this creature just, finds another victim and moves on quickly, which is basically what is going to happen. It's not many of them that keep lingering around because, of course, their ego's all damaged and they got to go find somebody to, lick their wounds with them. So they'll, grab somebody out of the narc harem. I mean, that's what Trevor had to do ultimately. Trevor just went through the Rolodex and, calling everybody, and until one bit, well, the one that bit, that's his new girlfriend, that's it. Girlfriend by default, the one that didn't hang up on him. It's outrageous, and that's how they live. Right? They pretend to be in these relationships with people, and meanwhile, it's like the partner by default. It's also crazy. Back to my point. Over and over and over and over again, I mean, this is extremely common within our community, the victim flees, which creates a much more unstable, much more volatile for victims who need very much to have some peace of mind, some safety, some security, and a way to clear their head. If you're living in your car or living in your mom's basement or living in a tree fort, this is going to be trickier. So I think now we need to really get our thinkers on right. Stop being so reactive to their chaos and their crazy making and the way they just make our heads spin and send us reeling. Don't let them do it to you. Keep your composure, keep your head clear, and let's figure out how we can get them out. Wouldn't that be fabulous if there was this run throughout our community of narcs being forced out of the homes and victims being able to maintain their homes? I mean, the homes that maybe your kids are used to or your pets are used to, and maybe it's going to be hard for you to find a new place with kids or pets or whatever's going on. I mean, let's not assume that the narc is a man, because, you know, I think we've got a 50-50 shot that this is a woman. There's also a very good chance that how this thing is just going to leave you alone once you boot it out, you know, because it's going to need another victim. It's going to have to focus on that other victim and do its love bombing and all its crazy shit, right? So, you know, I think you've got a good possibility of staying in the house, you know, and a good possibility of being safe. Now, we need some information, obviously. I'm years, you know, away from Trevor, and I owned my own home, so I left his house and went to mine, so it's a bit of a different situation. I know a lot of you maybe don't have anywhere to go, and only by the grace of God, I had somewhere to go. So let's consider you don't have somewhere to go, and really the best bet, the safest bet, the thing that makes the most sense, that is the most fair, is that the narc leaves. So what do you need to do? I mean, do you need to talk to your landlord? Do you need to talk to maybe the police? Do you need a restraining order? Is it hard to get a restraining order in your area? What sort of evidence of abuse will you need? Do you have any evidence of abuse? You know, can you get evidence of abuse? Can you record them? Can you film them? You know, can you take photos of documents? I mean, what do you need to do, right? Start to build a plan. What do you have to do if you're going to, you know, be seeking a restraining order? What do you need? We need to find that out. Now, I know they've got a lot of free legal advice hotlines all over the world, like 1-800 free legal advice kind of thing. And you know, you can find those quite easily, and maybe they'll answer a few questions for you, at least get you pointed in the right direction. And that would be really great. Now, I know in Canada, we have something called legal aid, and it used to be, you know, pretty encompassing, where lots of different people with different problems could get some free legal advice, you know, on the socialized legal stuff. But they've cut back, and I do believe in Canada now, to get any sort of legal help for free, you have to be facing criminal charges or possibly facing jail time for you to even qualify for any type of free legal help. Now, in your province or state, there may be additional fundings, private groups, you know, organizations that help with this sort of thing. And if you know of anything like that, please put it down in the comments. If you know of anyone who is able to retain the property and get the narc out, please let us know that story as well. And if you yourself miraculously got out, got free, and were able to do that while retaining your home, your peace of mind, you know, the stuff that was familiar to you, you know, share that story with us. I know there's not many of us. In most cases, the victim flees. That's pretty generic throughout our group, that's for sure. But the world is a little bit too weird right now, and, you know, people have probably got a lot going on and a lot on their mind, and, you know, fleeing right now may not be the best thing for you, and it really makes me wonder why so many people are staying with the narcs right now. And if you are someone who's staying with the narc right now, because that seems like the safest bet, well, please share that story with us as well, and how you've been able to manage that and, you know, keep a distance from them and understand where that line has to be drawn in the sand, where you just don't let them bring their crazy on you, right? Because you got to stop that, right? You need to have a clear head. Let them spin out. I think that we can really help a lot of people if we can pull together some information, some tips, some tricks. You know, how do you stay in the house, and how do we get the narc out? I know for a lot of people, they're going to say, oh, I'd rather leave because the narc knows where I live. But in these very challenging times, you see, this global narcissistic attack has not omitted them. They are taking the same beating as everyone else. And for a lot of these people, they really do believe themselves to be special and exempt from basic human consequences, fallout, whatever. And now they're realizing, you know, so they're pretty agitated. I think they're going to need supply. And I think that once you get them out, and you may have to do that swiftly, you may have to do that with force, that may have to involve having all the locks changes or some bars put on the windows or whatever you got to do, right? You know, secure your home a little bit, put in cameras. You know, all of that is much cheaper. It's much cheaper to change a lock than it is to move, pay damage deposit, get a truck. Maybe you don't have a lot of stuff. You know, it just, moving is horrible. It's horrible. And the person that's causing the breakup should be the one, who carries that financial burden for the move and all the workload and everything. I just think that for a lot of empaths right now, you're going to stand a much better chance growing and moving forward from the termination of the relationship. If you're in a place that's familiar to you, a place where you feel safe, a place where you can, do some modifications to make it even feel a bit safer, whatever you got to do, but maybe the home your kids are in or your pets. So this is better for you, I think. So let's talk about that a bit, and please share your ideas. If you do know of any funding anywhere available for domestic type issues, I think you need a little bit of legal advice. Maybe these free legal telephone places can at least point you in the right direction so you know what questions to ask. Find out what you need for evidence. Do you need something? I think that's the best bet. And that would change a pattern for us as a group. That would, maybe stop the fleeing. And what ends up happening, of course, here you're in this terrorized state. Now you're like driving in the darkness and you don't know where you're going. Oh, God, how many times I've heard this. People end up in motels on the side of the road or in these horrible shelters. Oh, God, I could tell you a couple of shelter stories. People have had horrendous times in shelters. So you're leaving a really bad and terrifying situation and just jumping into another one. That's not good for anybody. Anyways, I've rambled on about this enough. Maybe we can leave some comments and let's see what we can come up with. I think it would be an incredible shift in our community if we could get the narcs out of the houses. It's so common, you're on these threads or in these chat rooms and, all these people, I fled, oh God, I ran like I was being chased by Satan, I couldn't get out there fast enough, I left with the shirt on my back, and, people are rebuilding from nothing. You rarely hear stories, of how I stood my ground, how I stood in front of the storm and I got that damn narc out. Because I used a clear head. I wasn't really reactive and I wasn't running on emotion. I was running on logic and reason and what was fair. And that would be a great shift in our community. Could you imagine you go, to a narc abuse thread and everybody retain their home and the narcs are out? I mean, that'd be a great shift for us. So let's see what we can come up with as a group. Anyways, guys, I love you lots. I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. I hope you're having a great narc-free day.